guys, and welcome back to a new video. In this video I'm going to be talking about how I prepare for my finals. My finals week is like in 3 weeks, and obviously it is very nerve-wracking. And I also made a video previously about my whole life at uni. I did like this little Q&A, and I also mentioned that I would love to make a video about my study routine, and I thought since my finals is around the corner, now would actually be a perfect time. Just a little disclaimer, what works for me can probably not work for you, and I know that everyone has their own way of studying. So yeah, if I do things in a certain way, it doesn't mean that you're doing it in the wrong way. I'm also not saying that I'm doing everything in a good way. So yeah, this is personally what has been working for me, and this is just how I study for my finals. If you want to know how I prepare for my finals week, then just keep on watching. Also, first of all, can we talk about the setup? I also had it like this in my university Q&A, and I thought it was pretty cute. So I thought, let me just sit like this again. Basically, I have some notes on my phone which I keep looking at so I don't forget anything. So if you see me looking at my phone, basically that's why. So the first thing I like to do when I prepare for my finals is to check which subject has the most priority. So I currently have like 4 subjects, but only 3 out of the 4 are going to be written exams at the finals. Like one is just like this one, like assignment that I still have to do. But yeah, 3 out of the 4 are like written exams for the finals. So obviously I also have some grades for all those subjects already because of my midterms. So first I check the results of my midterm grades for all those courses, and then I just really like make sure to check which subject has more priority. I also do that by first of all calculating my current average and what grade I have to have at the final to pass that course. I like to use calculator.net for anyone who's wondering. It's very nice, so then you can just really calculate what grade you have to receive. It's also very great because it really calculates in a sense that, for example, if my final exam weighs 60% and my midterm only like 40%, it can also really calculate it like that. Obviously some things weigh a lot more than others, so that's one thing. And I also like to prioritize certain subjects based on just the feeling. Like if I feel like I don't know Korean history that well yet, then I would prioritize that more compared to Japanese history, for example. So, and the same with Korean. Like with Korean, I have like very different subcategories, if that makes sense, for my finals. So right now I really feel like I have to give a lot more priority to the listening compared to grammar and vocabulary, because I didn't score that great on my listening part at my midterms. So I obviously also have to give a lot more priority by practicing listening. So I'll basically calculate and determine which course has more priority. So, and that brings us to the second thing I do, is to create a finals schedule. Like I mentioned before, my finals are in like 3 weeks, and I think right now is the perfect time to actually start preparing for my finals. Like this week was, I believe, like my final week of like classes. I am maybe wrong. I know that I have another Korean class next Monday, but after that I won't have classes anymore. And I know that I also had the final lecture for Korean history today. Like I don't know if I still have another lecture for Japanese history. I know for a fact that almost all my classes are now coming to an end. So, and that's actually great, because I really felt like at my finals in my previous semester we didn't really have like a whole week where we didn't have classes. Well, yeah, we didn't have Korean the week before our finals, but we still had like other lectures, if that makes sense. So that was something I just personally didn't like, and I think not everyone likes that, when you're still expected to attend lectures and classes even though you just really want to spend all your time in preparing for your finals. So yeah, so I create my schedule also based on which subject has more priority, like I mentioned before. And what I also try to keep in mind when I'm making my schedule is making sure like to also watch back some certain lectures, because I did like honestly miss some lectures during this semester. But the thing is, like, they're all being recorded, so that's great, so I can watch them back. So I also have to make time to watch those lectures back. Yeah, and what I would not recommend anyone to do right now is start making summaries like right now, because if you try to summarize your whole entire semester just in like a very short time frame, then it's just going to be very time consuming, and then you will end up not having time for the actual studying. So yeah, I'm just gonna do it like right now with all the notes I have made during the lectures, and I can always find some summaries from other people, like people who previously did those courses, and also just summaries other people's made. So, but I'm going to be talking about study methods and everything like in my next point. So, and how I create my schedule is like make time for every subject like like at least a day. I know it can be hard to find like a good final schedule, especially if you have like like luckily for me right now I don't have like multiple exams in a day, because I know that some people actually have that sometimes, where they have like 2 or 3 exams in one day. But what I do have is like that I have Korean on a Tuesday, and then the day after I have Korean history, and then the day after I have Japanese history. So I do have exams on 3 consecutive days. What I actually do the day before the actual like exam, like for example, obviously I'll do all the studying of Korean right before the day before my Korean exam, and then like the same with the other subjects. Like the day before my Korean history exam, I will like obviously study a lot for Korean history. So I do create my schedule based on how much I have to do for each course, and also what has more priority. So that's basically how I like create my schedule. Like I like to give multiple subjects like some time on a day. Like for example, I will do Korean history in the morning and maybe some Korean in the afternoon, but sometimes I could maybe do all 3, like maybe do 2 hours of Korean and then like 3 hours of Japanese history and then another 3 hours of Korean history, if that makes sense. So yeah, I sort of create my schedule like that. So yeah, and when I say like I like to start right now, like maybe some people think like 3 weeks, like that's maybe like too early. I still have plenty of times, but I really recommend to start as early as possible. 3 weeks I think is like a great time to start preparing, because like if you try to study everything like a day before the exam, then you're literally like not gonna make it, because it's just a lot. Especially like university courses, they can really be like a lot, and the work load is very big. So all my fellow university students can definitely agree on this. So yeah, that's basically how I make my schedule. And then the third point is like my actual study routine. So it's basically like all the methods I use for studying and everything. So yeah, first of all, I like to make sure that I have a clean desk and that there are not any distractions around me, because I really feel like if there's basically like a lot on my desk, then I just really cannot focus. And I also make sure that like I'm in a good quiet environment. It will maybe sound weird, but I'm one of those people who cannot study with music on. Like, don't get me wrong, sometimes I do like to put like a sort of lo-fi playlist or like a piano playlist, but that's just not a lot. I don't do that all the time when I'm studying. Like, and at the same time, there are people out there who cannot study without music. Like, I applaud you guys. But so yeah, I just mentioned that just to like say how I like to study. Like, it's just personally I prefer to study without music rather than with music. Yeah, I like to make sure that I'm in a quiet environment. Like my room is alright for studying, but sometimes I just like to switch it up by going to the library just by myself, or either with friends, or maybe like a cafe. So because I really feel like if I only study at home for like a couple of consecutive days, then I just really feel like I cannot focus anymore. And yeah, it doesn't happen every day that it's always quiet here. So if I have one day a feeling that I just cannot focus at home, then I'll just move it to the library. Yeah, that's basically what I do. And my like actual study methods is like for example, for history, I like to watch lectures and take my notes with it. But obviously, since I made my notes during those lectures, I could have probably missed some things during the lecture itself. So I like to make some extra notes when I watch it back. For example, if there's something in my notes I missed and the professor is saying something during that recorded lecture, I like to like write it down again. And I also keep my summaries on the side, because like I mentioned, I do have some summaries that I got from people who are now like in their second year and already did this course in their first year. So yeah, I like to keep those summaries as well. If there are mock exam questions, I like to make that as well. Like, we don't get them a lot, to be honest, at university. We did have those a lot at like the first semester, and we practiced a lot with them. But yeah, I know I can also like make up with mock exam questions myself, but I don't know if I'm like good at that. So I like to do it with the mock exams or like mock questions that are already there. So yeah, and with Korean, it's just I like to review certain videos about certain grammar again. Also with the vocabulary, I do the same like with every vocabulary test, just practice on Quizlet. Really also practice the words that I'm still struggling with. And also like with reading and listening, I like to redo those exercises again. And like I mentioned earlier, I definitely really have to give more priority to the listening part for this final exam, because I really didn't, I did score okay, but like I scored 58% on my midterm, so I'm not really proud of that. So I want to like make it up for that. So, and I also have an oral exam, but I already have that like next Tuesday, so I'm already like preparing for that and stuff with a friend. So, but since my finals is mainly like written exams, that's why I'm actually talking about my written exams now. And like I mentioned, for that other course I do have an assignment, but I think it's not due until next week. So yeah, that's basically just how I like to study. It's just basically summaries, notes, watching lectures. I know people always also like to use flashcards, but I don't have those. I don't like to make these either, so that's just how I'm not doing it. And I also like to ask my friends for help if I'm if I'm not sure if I'm doing it well, or if there's something, for example, in history that I'm not really understanding well, I ask my other friends. So yeah, and my fourth tip I like to give, and I really want to give this to everyone as well, is that to make sure to rest well as well. Like obviously when I'm studying, I also give myself breaks, like for example food breaks, or just like, you know, just a little 15-minute break that I'm allowed to like grab my phone and just like, you know, have a little break. So I know there are also techniques like the Pomodoro techniques, for example. So but yeah, I would really not recommend anyone to like go on studying without taking a break. Like I don't have like set dates for my break. I just take a break like whenever I feel like I cannot focus anymore. So if I'm looking at all the info and it's just, and my brain is not processing it, if that makes sense, then I'll give myself a break. Or if I just feel like I'm getting hungry, I also obviously take a break as well then. So it's basically just like that, but I also know when to stop my break and continue with my studying. I think that's just something that everyone knows what works for them. So, and also like the final tip to like give, which is also like continuation on my previous one when I said about taking breaks, is definitely like make sure to get like enough sleep. And I also tell everyone around me like, please do not do any all-nighters, because especially if you do an all-nighter right before the exam, you're really going to arrive at the exam completely sleep deprived and just so unrested, and I'll guarantee you probably won't be able to focus during an exam, because you really need all your focus, all your energy on that exam. So I would also definitely recommend make sure to have a very good night's sleep. If you know you have an exam like early in the morning at 9, I would say make sure to go to bed early. Obviously at those moments like this, I think everyone had that once they felt like, okay, I have to go sleep early, but I feel like I don't know certain things that well yet. I personally had something like, you know what, I'll just skim the whole thing like real fast and then just leave it for what it is. Like I personally also don't like to study like while I'm on my way to my exam, or like an hour before the exam, because I know that some people like tend to do that, for example when they are in the public transport, or they're arrived at the exam place and they still like study their notes and stuff like that. I just personally don't like to do that, because it feels like it gives me a lot of anxiety if I do. So I just don't like to do that at all, so I make sure not to do that on the day of my exam. Unless you have your exam at like 6 in the afternoon, then I think like it's great to maybe to use that morning for studying as well. Like I think that's good, but I believe that I think all my exams are like at 9 in the morning or like 1 in the afternoon. Like I don't think I have any exams in the evening now. I know like last semester I had one exam in the evening, but yeah. So like I mentioned, please don't do any all-nighters, and I don't do all-nighters either, especially when I'm studying for written exams. So, and if I feel like, okay, I know like chapter 1 to 8 for example very well, but I don't know that much about chapter 9 and 10, I'll just honestly just leave it for what it is and just like, you know, trust myself basically. So yeah, that is basically how I like to prepare for my finals. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope this video also maybe gave you some inspiration on how to study for your finals. And if you are watching and you have your finals soon, then I wish you lots of luck with your finals. So yeah, we can do this. Fighting! So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time in a new video. Bye bye!